High Admiral Zixtor of the Zorthan Empire gazed at the holographic projection of a small blue planet spinning slowly before him. His mandibles clicked with anticipation as he studied the primitive world, designated as HFY 2275 in the Empire's vast catalog of potential conquests. "Report," he commanded, his multifaceted eyes never leaving the hologram. Science Officer Vexella stepped forward, her exoskeleton gleaming under the ship's ambient lighting. "High Admiral, our scans indicate a technologically inferior species dominating the planet's surface. They call themselves humans. Their most advanced weaponry consists of chemical propellants and crude nuclear devices. No energy shields, no faster-than-light capabilities, not even a unified planetary government." Zixtor's antennae twitched with amusement. Pitiful. They're barely out of their planetary cradle. This conquest will be swift and effortless. There is one peculiarity, High Admiral, Vexella added hesitantly. Despite their technological limitations, the humans have achieved a remarkable level of cultural and scientific diversity. Their advancements, while primitive by our standards, have occurred at an unusually rapid pace. Zixtor waved a dismissive claw. "Irrelevant. Prepare the invasion fleet. We'll begin with their largest population centers. Have our infiltrators disable their global communication networks before the first wave strikes. I want this operation concluded within one planetary rotation." As the Zorthan Armada approached Earth's orbit, cloaked from human detection systems, the unsuspecting populace went about their daily lives. In New York City, Sarah Chen, a brilliant young physicist, was presenting her latest research on quantum entanglement to a packed auditorium at Columbia University. "Ladies and gentlemen, the implications of this discovery could revolutionize our understanding of the universe," Sarah explained, her eyes shining with excitement. "We're on the brink of." Suddenly, the lights flickered and died. The projector screen went black. Confused murmurs rippled through the audience as people checked their phones, only to find them unresponsive. Across the globe, a similar scene unfolded. In London, Tokyo, Moscow, and countless other cities, communication systems failed simultaneously. Satellites fell silent, internet connections vanished, and an eerie quiet descended upon a world accustomed to constant connectivity. In the Oval Office, President Elena Rodriguez received the alarming reports from her advisors. "Madam President, we're experiencing a global communications blackout. Military channels are down, civilian networks are offline, and we've lost contact with our orbital assets." Elena's face hardened as she processed the information. Is this a coordinated cyber attack? Who has the capability to? Her question was cut short by a deafening roar that shook the White House to its foundations. Secret Service agents burst into the room, shouting urgently, "Madam President, we need to evacuate immediately." As they rushed her to the underground bunker, Elena caught a glimpse of the Washington sky through a window. Her blood ran cold at the sight of massive otherworldly ships descending through the clouds, their hulls gleaming with an alien metallic sheen. In orbit, High Admiral Zixtor observed the unfolding invasion with satisfaction. "Status report," he demanded. "Earth's communication systems have been neutralized," a subordinate reported. "Our ground forces are deploying in all major cities. Minimal resistance encountered so far." Zixtor's mandibles clicked in a Zorthan smile. "Excellent. These humans will learn their place in the galaxy soon enough. Begin Phase 2 of the operation." As the alien ships touched down in cities around the world, panic erupted in the streets. Terrified civilians fled from the towering mechanical monstrosities that emerged from the vessels. Zorthan soldiers, encased in sleek exo-armor that deflected human weapons with ease, marched forward in perfect formation. In the chaos of New York City, Sarah Chen found herself swept along with the fleeing crowds. Her scientific mind raced, trying to comprehend the impossible reality unfolding around her. As she ran, a thought crystallized in her mind. Humanity's survival now depended on understanding and counteracting this advanced alien technology. Little did the Zorthans know, their easy conquest was about to face an unforeseen challenge. The human spirit, tested countless times throughout history, was preparing to demonstrate a resilience that would shake the foundations of an intergalactic empire. The Zorthan invasion unfolded with ruthless efficiency. Within hours, Earth's major cities had fallen under alien control. The advanced weaponry of the invaders cut through human defenses like a hot knife through butter. Tanks were vaporized by energy beams, fighter jets swatted from the sky by automated drones, and infantry divisions scattered before the relentless march of Zorthan war machines. In the smoldering ruins of what was once downtown Los Angeles, Marine Corps Captain Jake Rodriguez crouched behind the twisted wreckage of a city bus. His squad, or what remained of it, huddled nearby, their faces streaked with grime and desperation. "Sir, what the hell are we supposed to do against these things?" Private Chen whispered, her voice trembling as she gestured towards a towering Zorthan walker stomping through the debris-littered street. Jake gritted his teeth, watching the alien behemoth with a mixture of awe and fury. "We keep fighting, Chen. It's all we can do." As if on cue, the walker's sensor array swiveled towards their position. Jake's heart raced as he saw the massive energy cannon charging up, preparing to obliterate their flimsy cover. "Move. Now," he roared, grabbing Chen by her tactical vest and hurling them both into a nearby alleyway. The rest of the squad scattered just as a blinding flash of light erupted behind them, the concussive force of the blast throwing them off their feet. Ears ringing, Jake struggled to his knees. Through the settling dust, he saw the mangled remains of their previous hiding spot, a grim reminder of how outmatched they truly were. Meanwhile, in the depths of No Raid's Cheyenne Mountain complex, President Elena Rodriguez and what remained of her cabinet struggled to coordinate a global response to the invasion. The fortified bunker, designed to withstand nuclear strikes, now served as humanity's last bastion of centralized command. "Madam President, we've lost contact with the European Union leadership," the Secretary of Defense reported, his voice heavy with exhaustion. "Asian coalition forces are in disarray, and we've had no word from South America in the last 6 hours." Elena pinched the bridge of her nose, fighting back the waves of despair threatening to overwhelm her. "What about our nuclear deterrent?" A hush fell over the room. The Joint Chiefs exchanged grim looks before the chairman spoke up. We launched everything we had, Madam President. ICBMs, submarine-based missiles, bomber strikes. The aliens intercepted them all. Some detonated harmlessly in the upper atmosphere. Others were redirected. The implication hung heavy in the air. Their ultimate weapon, the ace up humanity's sleeve, had been neutralized with terrifying ease. "So we're defenseless," Elena murmured, more to herself than anyone else. "Not entirely, Madam President," a new voice chimed in. All heads turned to see Dr. Sarah Chen, the physicist from New York, being escorted into the command center by Secret Service agents. "Dr. Chen," Elena acknowledged, recognizing the scientist from briefings on cutting-edge research. "I'm glad you made it here safely, but I'm not sure how theoretical physics can help us now." Sarah's eyes blazed with determination as she approached the central holographic display. "Madam President, distinguished leaders, I believe I found something. In the chaos of the New York invasion, I managed to get close to one of the alien craft. The readings I took, they're unlike anything we've ever seen." She manipulated the hologram, bringing up a series of complex equations and energy signatures. "Their technology operates on principles we've only theorized about. Quantum field manipulation, gravity control, energy conversion on a scale we thought impossible. But here's the thing. It's not magic. It's science. And if we can understand it, we might be able to fight back." A spark of hope flickered in Elena's eyes for the first time since the invasion began. "What do you need, Dr. Chen?" "A team. The best minds we have left. And access to any alien tech we can get our hands on," Sarah replied without hesitation. "We're in a race against time, But if we can reverse engineer even a fraction of their technology, we might stand a chance. As the group in the bunker began to formulate a desperate plan, High Admiral Zixtor observed the conquered Earth from his orbiting flagship. His initial satisfaction was giving way to a gnawing unease. "Status report," he barked at his subordinates. "High Admiral, we've secured 78% of the planet's major population centers," one officer reported. "However, we're encountering unexpected resistance in some areas." Zixtor's antennae twitched with irritation. "Explain." "The humans, sir. They're adapting faster than we anticipated. Our ground forces are reporting ambushes, improvised weapons, tactics we haven't seen before. It's nothing we can't handle, but it's slowing our progress." For the first time since the invasion began, a flicker of doubt crossed Zixtor's compound eyes. These humans were proving to be more resilient than he had imagined. But it was too late for second thoughts now. The fate of two species hung in the balance, and the true test of survival was about to begin. Deep within the bowels of Cheyenne Mountain, Dr. Sarah Chen hunched over a workbench littered with alien technology. Her team of scientists and engineers worked feverishly around her, each focused on unraveling the mysteries of Zorthan tech. The air crackled with a mixture of desperation and determination. "Dr. Chen," a voice called out. Sarah looked up to see Dr. Amit Patel, a brilliant materials scientist, rushing towards her. His eyes were wide with excitement. "I think we found something." Sarah followed Amit to his station, where a holographic display showed the molecular structure of the Zorthan energy shields. "Look here." Amit pointed to a specific arrangement of particles. "Their shields operate on a quantum entanglement principle, but there's a pattern to the entanglement, a rhythm almost." Sarah's mind raced as she processed the implications. If we can disrupt that rhythm, we might be able to create a localized field that collapses their shields. Amit finished, a grin spreading across his face. For the first time in weeks, Sarah felt a glimmer of genuine hope. "Gather the team. We need to weaponize this discovery immediately." Meanwhile, on the outskirts of what was once Chicago, Captain Jake Rodriguez and his ragtag group of survivors had linked up with a resistance cell. Their base of operations was a defunct subway station, its tunnels providing cover from Zorthan patrols. Jake studied a crude map of alien positions, trying to find a weakness in their seemingly impenetrable defense. Beside him, Private Chen cleaned her rifle, a habit born of anxiety and the need for constant readiness. "Sir," a voice crackled over their jury-rigged radio. "We've got movement topside." Big group of civvies being herded towards the processing center. Jake's jaw clenched. They'd all heard the rumors of what happened in those processing centers. Whatever it wasn't good for humanity. "How many guards?" he asked. 3 walkers, about a dozen foot soldiers. It was suicide. They were outnumbered, outgunned, and outteched. But the alternative, leaving those civilians to their fate, was unthinkable. "Gear up," Jake ordered, his voice steady despite the fear gnawing at his gut. "We're going topside." As the resistance fighters prepared for their desperate rescue mission, High Admiral Zixtor faced a crisis of his own. Reports from across the planet painted a troubling picture. Human resistance was growing, not diminishing as expected. Every day brought news of ambushes, sabotage, and increasingly effective counterattacks. "How is this possible?" Zixtor raged, his mandibles clicking furiously. "They're primitives. We've conquered worlds 10 times more advanced without this much trouble." His second-in-command, Sub-Commander Vexala, approached cautiously. "High Admiral, our xenobiologists have a theory. It seems the humans possess an unusual capacity for adaptation. Their neural plasticity is off the charts compared to other species we've encountered." Zixtor's compound eyes narrowed. "Meaning?" "They're learning, sir, faster than we thought possible. Some of our ground commanders report humans using tactics that seem to evolve daily. They're studying our technology, our strategies, and finding ways to counter them." The implications were staggering. What had started as a simple conquest was rapidly turning into a grueling war of attrition, and for the first time in his long career, Zixtor felt a twinge of uncertainty about the outcome. Back in the Cheyenne Mountain lab, Sarah Chen's team worked tirelessly to transform their theoretical breakthrough into a practical weapon. The prototype was crude, a bulky device that looked more like a science fair project than a tool of war. But if it worked, Dr. Chen, President Rodriguez's voice came through the intercom. "I need good news. Please tell me you have good news." Sarah took a deep breath. "Madam President, we think we found a way to bring down their shields. It's not perfect, and the range is limited, but it's a start." The silence that followed was heavy with the weight of hope. "How soon can we deploy?" Sarah exchanged glances with her team. They were exhausted, running on caffeine and sheer willpower, but there was a fire in their eyes, a determination that burned brighter than their fatigue. "Give us 48 hours to refine and produce a batch. Then we can start turning the tide." As Sarah's words echoed through the command center, a spark of optimism spread through the gathered leaders. For the first time since the invasion began, humanity had a fighting chance. Outside Chicago, Jake Rodriguez and his team crept through the ruins, approaching the Zorthan convoy. The aliens had herded a group of terrified civilians into a tight cluster, surrounded by the imposing forms of their walkers. Jake raised his hand, signaling his team to hold position. They were outnumbered and outgunned, but they had surprise on their side. And sometimes, that was enough. "On my mark," he whispered into his comm. 3, 2, 1. As Jake prepared to give the order that would likely be his last, a blinding flash lit up the sky. For a moment, he thought the Zorthans had detected them, that this was the end. But then he saw it, one of the alien walkers stumbling, its energy shield flickering and dying. In orbit, alarms blared throughout the Zorthan flagship. Zixtor watched in disbelief as reports flooded in from all over the planet. Shields failing, weapons malfunctioning, communication systems going haywire. The humans, it seemed, had found their courage. And with it, they had found a way to fight back. The tide was turning. The real war was about to begin. The news of humanity's breakthrough spread like wildfire across the globe. In hidden bunkers, underground resistance cells, and makeshift command centers, a renewed sense of hope ignited the human spirit. For the first time since the Zorthan invasion, the impossible seemed within reach. President Elena Rodriguez stood before a hastily assembled group of world leaders, their faces projected on screens around her in the Cheyenne Mountain War Room. Many looked haggard, some were clearly in hiding, but all shared the same glimmer of determination in their eyes. "Ladies and gentlemen," Elena began, her voice steady despite the weight of the moment, "we have a chance. A small one, but it's more than we had yesterday. Dr. Chen and her team have given us a weapon against the Zorthans. Now we must unite as never before to use it." The Chinese president, his usual stoic demeanor cracking, spoke up. "What do you propose, Madam President?" Elena took a deep breath. "A global coordinated offensive. We pool our resources, share all intelligence, and strike simultaneously across every continent. The Zorthans thought they could divide us. Let's show them how united humanity can be." For a moment, silence reigned. Then, one by one, the world leaders nodded their agreement. Ancient rivalries, political differences, and long-standing conflicts were set aside in the face of extinction. Humanity had found its common cause. Meanwhile, on the outskirts of Chicago, Captain Jake Rodriguez and his team were witnessing the effects of the new human weapon firsthand. The Zorthan walker, its shields down, stumbled like a wounded beast. Now, Jake roared, and his resistance fighters sprang into action. They had trained for this moment, rehearsing their moves countless times. Private Chen led a group armed with jury-rigged EMP devices, shorting out the Zorthan foot soldiers' armor. Another team, led by a former construction worker named Mike, used grappling hooks to scale the fallen walker. Jake himself charged towards the cluster of civilians, firing his rifle to provide cover. "Go. Run," he shouted, gesturing towards a pre-planned escape route. The battle was chaotic, brutal, and unlike anything in human military history. But for the first time, it wasn't entirely one-sided. The Zorthans, caught off guard by the sudden failure of their technology, fought with a desperation that matched the humans. As the last of the civilians disappeared into the safety of the underground tunnels, Jake allowed himself a moment of disbelief. They had done it. They had actually won a battle against the invaders. His radio crackled to life. "Captain Rodriguez, this is General Hawkins. Do you copy?" Jake's eyebrows shot up. He hadn't heard from the official military chain of command in weeks. "This is Rodriguez." "I copy, sir." "Captain, I don't know how you and your people pulled that off, but well done. We're regrouping. I need you and your team to rendezvous at these coordinates. It's time to take back our planet." Across the globe, similar scenes were unfolding. In the rice paddies of Vietnam, farmers turned guerrilla fighters ambushed Zorthan patrols. In the Amazon rainforest, indigenous tribes led alien forces into deadly traps. The streets of London, Moscow, and Tokyo became battlegrounds where humans fought with a ferocity that shocked their invaders. Dr. Sarah Chen, watching the reports flood in, felt a mixture of pride and horror. Her invention was turning the tide, but at a terrible cost. The casualty reports were staggering. "We need to end this quickly," she muttered, turning back to her workbench, "or there won't be much of a planet left to save." High Admiral Zixtor paced the bridge of his flagship, his exoskeleton clicking against the metallic floor. The situation was deteriorating rapidly. How had these primitives managed to neutralize Zorthan technology so quickly? "Status report," he barked. Sub-Commander Vexella approached, her usual confidence shaken. "High Admiral, we've lost control of 37% of our ground holdings. The humans are coordinating their attacks with unprecedented efficiency. Our forces they're requesting reinforcements." Zixtor's mandibles clacked in agitation. Reinforcements. The very idea was absurd. They were the Zorthan Empire, conquerors of 1,000 worlds. To request aid against a pre-FTL species was unthinkable. And yet, "Send the signal," Zixtor said, the words tasting bitter. "Call the reserve fleet. We will not be humiliated by these humans." As the call for reinforcements raced across the vast distances of space, humanity prepared for its greatest test. The initial victories had been costly, but they had proven one thing: the Zorthans were not invincible. In war rooms and rebel bases around the world, strategies were formed, alliances solidified, and a singular purpose emerged. The human race, so often divided, had found unity in the face of annihilation. The next phase of the war would determine the fate not just of Earth, but of humanity's place in the galaxy. And as both sides girded themselves for the battles to come, one thing became clear: the real war was just beginning. The dawn broke over a changed Earth. Smoke from countless battles obscured the sky, but there was a palpable shift in the air. Humanity, once on the brink of defeat, had found its footing. Now it was time to push back. In a repurposed Zorthan ground transport, now serving as a mobile command center, General Hawkins briefed a diverse group of military leaders from around the world. Captain Jake Rodriguez, still adapting to his newfound role in the global resistance, stood among them. "Operation Thunderstrike begins at 600, Hawkins announced, his weathered face illuminated by the holographic display of Earth. "We've identified key Zorthan strongholds across all continents. Our objective is to hit them simultaneously, hard and fast." A Chinese general, her uniform bearing the scars of recent combat, spoke up. "And the civilian populations in those areas." Jake tensed, remembering the faces of those he'd rescued in Chicago. Hawkins' expression remained grim. "We've initiated mass evacuations where possible, but There will be casualties. We can't afford to hold back, not now. The weight of those words settled heavily on the room. This was the terrible calculus of war. How many lives were worth sacrificing to save the species? As the military leaders finalized their plans, Dr. Sarah Chen was making a breakthrough of her own. In the depths of Cheyenne Mountain, she stared at her computer screen, scarcely believing what she was seeing. "This can't be right," she muttered, running the simulation again. But the results were the same. President Rodriguez, who had taken to visiting the lab for updates, noticed Sarah's agitation. "Dr. Chen, what is it?" Sarah looked up, her eyes wide with a mixture of excitement and disbelief. "Madam President, I think we might be able to turn their own ships against them." Alina's eyebrows shot up. "Explain." "The quantum entanglement that powers their shields. It's not just in their defensive systems. It's the core of all their technology. If we can amplify our disruptor field, we might be able to hijack their entire power grid." The implications were staggering. If they could disable, or better yet, control, the Zorthan ships, the entire tide of the war could change in an instant. "How long?" Alina asked, her mind already racing with the possibilities. Sarah hesitated. To build a device capable of that kind of output, a week, maybe 2. But, Madam President, we'd need access to a Zorthan capital ship. We'd have to get on board somehow. Alina's jaw set with determination. "Then that's exactly what we'll do. I'll inform General Hawkins. Whatever you need, Dr. Chen, you'll have it." As humanity prepared for its most daring offensive yet, High Admiral Zixtor faced a crisis aboard his flagship. The calls for reinforcement had been answered, but the response was not what he had hoped for. "What do you mean, consider withdrawal?" Zixtor raged at the holographic image of the Zorthan Supreme Council. "We are on the verge of victory." The head counselor, his exoskeleton bearing the ornate markings of the highest Zorthan authority, regarded Zixtor coolly. "Your reports suggest otherwise, High Admiral. This conquest was supposed to be swift and resource-efficient. Instead, we find ourselves in a protracted conflict with a species that, by your own initial assessment, should have been easily subdued." Zixtor's mandibles clicked in agitation. "The humans are unexpectedly resilient. But we have not lost. Our technological superiority is no longer the advantage it once was." The counselor interrupted. "These humans are adapting to our methods at an alarming rate. The longer we stay, the more they learn. The strategic value of this planet is no longer worth the cost." The implications of withdrawal hung heavy in the air. It would be an unprecedented humiliation for the Zorthan Empire. Zixtor's career, his very life, hinged on the outcome of this invasion. "Give me one planetary rotation," Zixtor pleaded, his pride warring with desperation. "I will show you victory, Counselor. The humans will break." The counselor was silent for a long moment. "One rotation, High Admiral. After that, if the situation has not improved dramatically, you will withdraw your forces. That is an order." As the hologram flickered out, Zixtor turned to his command staff. His compound eyes blazed with a fervor that made even the hardened Zorthan officers step back. "Prepare all forces," he hissed. "We end this now. No more strategic strikes. I want full orbital bombardment. If we cannot have this world, we will reduce it to ash." As Zixtor gave the order that would decide the fate of 2 species, Operation Thunderstrike launched across the globe. Humanity, armed with determination and their newfound ability to counteract Zorthan technology, struck at alien strongholds with everything they had. The battle for Earth had entered its final desperate phase, and in secret labs and hidden bunkers, a plan was forming that would take the fight beyond the planet's surface, into the very heart of the Zorthan fleet. The next 24 hours would determine the future of humanity, and perhaps reshape the galaxy itself. The sky burned. Zorthan warships, their hulls gleaming with otherworldly energy, rained destruction upon Earth's cities. But this time, humanity was ready. Anti-orbital defenses, hastily constructed using reverse-engineered alien tech, fired back. The night lit up with explosions as ships on both sides fell from the heavens. In the chaos of battle, a small, stealth human craft slipped through the Zorthan defensive lines. At its controls, Captain Jake Rodriguez gritted his teeth as he navigated through a field of debris and energy weapons fire. "Status report," he called out, eyes never leaving the cockpit window. Dr. Sarah Chen, strapped into the co-pilot's seat, checked her instruments. "The quantum disruptor is stable. If we can get within 100 meters of the Zorthan flagship, I can deploy it." In the rear of the craft, a mixed team of soldiers and scientists made final preparations. Their mission was simple, yet nearly impossible. Board the Zorthan flagship, deploy Dr. Chen's device, and take control of the alien fleet. As they approached the massive form of High Admiral Zixtor's command ship, alarms blared. "We've been detected," Jake shouted, throwing the craft into a series of evasive maneuvers. Energy beams lanced past them, too close for comfort. Jake's hands flew over the controls, pushing the hybrid human Zorthan ship to its limits. "We're not going to make it to the docking bay," he growled. Sarah's mind raced. "The hull. Can you get us close enough to magnetic latch onto their hull?" Jake grinned grimly. "Hang on to something." The small craft corkscrewed through space, dodging fire from all directions. With a bone-jarring impact, they slammed into the side of the Zorthan flagship, magnetic clamps engaging at the last second. "Go," Jake roared. The team, clad in reverse-engineered Zorthan spacesuits, blew the hatch and poured out onto the alien hull. Sarah, cradling the precious quantum disruptor, followed close behind Jake as they searched for an access point. Inside the flagship, alarms blared. High Admiral Zixtor, his exoskeleton bristling with agitation, barked orders to his crew. "Find those humans and eliminate them. Nothing must interfere with the bombardment." But even as he spoke, reports flooded in from around the globe. The human counterattack was more effective than anyone had anticipated. Zorthan ground forces were being pushed back, their technological advantage neutralized by human ingenuity and the weapons Dr. Chen had developed. On the hull of the flagship, Jake's team found an airlock. With practiced efficiency, they bypassed the alien security systems and forced their way inside. Zorthan defenders met them immediately, energy weapons blazing. "Cover me," Sarah yelled as she ran forward, quantum disruptor in hand. Jake and his soldiers laid down suppressing fire, their weapons, a mix of human and alien technology, keeping the Zorthan forces at bay. Sarah reached a central junction, her hands flying over the alien controls. Years of studying Zorthan tech had prepared her for this moment. With a deep breath, she activated the disruptor. For a moment, nothing happened. Then, like a wave spreading through water, a pulse of energy radiated out from the device. Zorthan weapons flickered and died. Gravity plating failed, sending aliens tumbling in the sudden zero-G environment. "It's working," Sarah shouted, her voice filled with equal parts relief and awe. Jake kicked off a wall, floating towards her. "Can you access their systems?" Sarah nodded, her fingers already dancing across the alien interface. "Give me 2 minutes, and I'll have control of the entire fleet." Outside, the space battle took a sudden, dramatic turn. Zorthan ships, their systems disrupted by Sarah's device, began to drift aimlessly. Some collided with each other, while others fell into Earth's atmosphere, becoming brilliant streaks across the sky. On Earth, cheers erupted from resistance fighters as they watched their alien oppressors' mighty ships fall. The tide had turned. In the flagship's command center, High Admiral Zixtor watched in horror as his fleet crumbled around him. "What is happening?" he demanded, his mandibles clicking furiously. No one had an answer. As system after system failed, the mighty Zorthan war machine ground to a halt. Suddenly, the main view screen flickered to life. Zixtor found himself staring at a human face, President Elena Rodriguez, her expression stern but composed. "High Admiral," she said, her voice echoing through the now silent command center. Your invasion has failed. Your fleet is under our control. I suggest you surrender immediately and unconditionally. Zixtor's compound eyes darted around the room, taking in the terrified faces of his crew, the flashing warning lights, the dead consoles. In that moment, he realized a truth that would shake the foundations of the Zorthan Empire. They had underestimated humanity, catastrophically. With a gesture of defeat that transcended species, Zixtor lowered his head. We surrender, he said, the words bitter in his mouth. As the news of the Zorthan surrender spread across Earth, a tidal wave of emotion swept through humanity. Joy, relief, disbelief, and a dawning realization that their world would never be the same again. In the flagship's control room, Jake found Sarah staring out a viewport at the Earth below, tears streaming down her face. We did it, she whispered. We actually did it. Jake put a hand on her shoulder, his own eyes misting over. Yeah, we did. But something tells me our work is just beginning. As they watched their blue planet spin below, both knew that humanity's adventure among the stars was only just beginning. The galaxy was vast, filled with wonders and dangers they could scarcely imagine. But they had proven something incredible. Faced with extinction, humanity could adapt, unite, and overcome. The stars, once so distant, now seemed within reach, and humanity, tempered by fire, was ready to take its place among them. 1 year after the surrender of the Zorthan fleet, Earth was a planet transformed. The scars of invasion were still visible, crashed alien ships jutting from city skylines, vast craters where battles had been fought. But amid the destruction, a new world was emerging. In what was once the Zorthan flagship, now permanently docked in Earth orbit and repurposed as humanity's first space station, a historic meeting was taking place. Representatives from every nation on Earth gathered alongside a delegation from the Zorthan Empire. President Elena Rodriguez, her face lined with the stress of the past year, but her eyes bright with determination, addressed the assembly. Today, we stand at a crossroads, she began, her voice carrying across the chamber. A year ago, we faced extinction. Today, we face the future. The Zorthan invasion showed us the dangers that lie among the stars, but also the incredible potential of humanity when we stand united. She gestured to the Zorthan representatives, led by the former High Admiral Zixtor, now serving as a reluctant ambassador. Our victory has opened doors we never imagined. The Zorthan Empire, humbled by their defeat, has offered us membership in the Galactic Confederation. We have the opportunity to take our place among the stars. Murmurs rippled through the crowd. The idea of joining an interstellar community was both thrilling and terrifying. But Elena continued, her tone growing serious. We must decide how we will step onto the galactic stage. Will we go as conquerors, seeking revenge for the invasion? Or will we go as explorers, diplomats, and peacekeepers? In the front row, Dr. Sarah Chen and Captain Jake Rodriguez exchanged glances. They had been key in establishing communication with the Zorthans after the war, working to build understanding between the two species. Sarah stood, addressing the assembly. The technology we've gained from the Zorthans has advanced our scientific knowledge by centuries. We're on the brink of faster-than-light travel, clean energy that could end pollution and climate change, medical breakthroughs that could cure our most devastating diseases. But with this knowledge comes great responsibility. Jake nodded, adding his own thoughts. We've seen what advanced technology in the wrong hands can do. We have a chance to do things differently, to learn from both our mistakes and those of the Zorthans. The debate raged for hours. Some argued for using their new technology to build a military force capable of defending Earth from any future threats. Others pushed for a focus on scientific and cultural exchange, arguing that understanding other species was the best path to peace. As the discussion continued, Zixtor stepped forward, his alien features still strange to human eyes, but no longer terrifying. If I may, he began, his translated words echoing in the chamber, The Zorthan Empire has much to answer for. Our conquest of your world was unjust, born of arrogance and greed. But in our defeat, we have learned much from humanity." He paused, his compound eyes scanning the room. "Your species possesses a remarkable ability to adapt, to innovate in the face of overwhelming odds. More than that, you have shown mercy where we showed none. This capacity for forgiveness, for seeing beyond immediate victory to a shared future, is rare in our experience of the galaxy." Zixtor's words hung in the air, a powerful reminder of how far both species had come. As the meeting drew to a close, a consensus began to emerge. Earth would join the Galactic Confederation, but on its own terms. They would share their unique innovations, the fusion of human ingenuity with alien technology, but also their values of freedom, diversity, and cooperation. A new organization was proposed, the Earth Space Exploration and Diplomatic Corps. Its mission would be to represent humanity among the stars, to seek out new civilizations, to learn and to teach. As the assembly voted overwhelmingly in favor of this new direction, cheers erupted throughout the station and across the planet below. Humanity had not only survived its trial by fire, but emerged stronger, wiser, and united. In the aftermath of the vote, Sarah found Jake staring out a viewport at the Earth below. "Penny for your thoughts, Captain," she asked, joining him. Jake smiled, his eyes reflecting the blue of their home planet. "Just thinking about how far we've come. A year ago, we were fighting for our very existence. Now we're about to take our first steps into a larger universe." Sarah nodded, her own expression a mix of excitement and apprehension. "It's not going to be easy. There's so much we don't know, so many challenges ahead." "True," Jake agreed. "But if there's one thing I've learned, it's to never underestimate humanity. Whatever's out there, we'll face it together." As they stood there, watching their world slowly spin below, both felt a sense of infinite possibility. The invasion had nearly destroyed them, but in rising to meet that challenge, humanity had discovered its true strength: unity, adaptability, compassion. These were the qualities that had saved them, and these were the gifts they would carry to the stars. The universe was vast and full of wonders, and humanity was ready to explore it. The unforeseen resistance had become an unforeseen journey, one that would take them further than they had ever dreamed possible. The dawn of a new era had arrived, and humanity stepped forward to meet it, united and unafraid.